Okay, thank you. So we're going to be introducing you to a few people, and we want to greet you all. We'll show you the program overview, introduce the track coordinators. We're going to have a discussion about the importance of professional student conduct and what our expectations are for you, walk through the resources on campus for students, and talk about program planning after a brief break. So first, is Dean Linda with us yet this morning? I'm not sure if she's here. Dean Linda, if you're on.
I'm here. She is here. She is here.
Great. Let me just introduce you quickly. Dean Thompson comes to the position highly qualified with prior experiences as an academic and health policy leader. Dr. Thompson entered both of her baccalaureate and master degrees in nursing from Wayne State University in Michigan and has a master's and doctorate in public health from Johns Hopkins University in Maryland. Among her previous academic positions, Dr. Thompson served as provost and then as an associate vice chancellor at North Carolina A&T State University. Additionally, she served as dean of the School of Nursing at Oakland University in Minnesota and as department chair at the University of Maryland School of Nursing, Department of Maternal Child Health in Maryland. She has over 100 publications, including articles, books, and book chapters, and has secured over $30 million in grants. Congratulations on that. A fellow of the American Academy of Nursing, Dr. Thompson is also a Robert Wood Johnson Executive Nurse Fellow and has served on numerous boards. So Dean Thompson, if you can tell the group a little bit more about what you hope to see happen in the next year.
Sure. Well, thank you, Jenny, and Leah for inviting me to meet with the students this morning. I just want to be one of the first to congratulate you on choosing to come to our campus at the University of Massachusetts, Boston. This is a really troubling time right now in our history, and the importance of you being educated to focus on promoting health equity and improving social justice in our country is so important at this moment. Our college and our campus has a commitment to promoting equity in all ways. We are interested in educational equity, health equity, climate equity in terms of looking at the planet. And you will be exposed to faculty who have a commitment to developing you as a future professional to improve the quality of life of citizens, not only in our region in Massachusetts, but also in the globe. I just want to let you know that I'm here to support your future endeavors. Once you are a member of our community, we embrace you and we are here to help you be successful in anything you want to do in your future career. So this is a wonderful time, I think, for you to learn from people who have such a commitment to developing people who have the values that we hold dear, and we all want to be available in any way that we can in order to help you not only grow as a nurse practitioner, but if you choose to stay on and get a doctorate in nurse and a doctorate either as a practitioner or a PhD, we're here to support that direction for your future as well. We, most of our faculty are, their research is focused on promoting positive qualities in people, looking at HIV prevention, smoking cessation. Our faculty are doing work in multiple parts of the world, from Malawi to Korea. And one of the things that I think is important as a student is this is an opportunity for you to reach out and learn from us, but also we need to learn from you. don't be shy, and don't feel like we are not welcoming. We really want to get to know you, and we want you to get to know us. So our goal is to help you find your, what I say, reach down into your gut and find what's really important, and help you to pull out those things that are really the most important for you as you develop as a future nurse, doing wonderful work. So feel free to email me, feel free to make an appointment and come to talk to me. Most of the work I've done in my career has targeted children and youth. I always say, Ginny is the person who knows the most about people who are aging well, but I always have had a passion for wanting to work with the most vulnerable children in our country. So, looking at children in the justice system, developing programs for people who've been incarcerated, working with children who've been abused or maltreated, to try to minimize some of the adverse childhood experiences those children have received. So if you want to learn more about that, I will be happy to talk with you about that. And we'll be happy to even talk to you a little bit about my pathway to my career. So just enjoy your time. I love to see people grow and develop, and I would love to be a part of your future. So I'll turn it back over to Jenny and Leah, unless you have any questions of me.
Anybody have any questions? I guess since I'm doing most of the talking here this morning with the slides, Leah, maybe you can watch the chat box and let me know if somebody types in a question
Sure.
or if you see any raised hands. Well, thank you so much, Dean Thompson. It does remind me, one of the assignments I have for my students when they pick an older adult patient to do a life review on is to ask them about when they were growing up and what they remember about the political climate and how it impacted some of their thinking and their development. So you really see a holistic view of your older adult patient. And for you guys right now, with the tragic death of George Floyd and the worldwide pandemic, we really have come to a time where nursing is at the forefront of fighting infectious disease and at the forefront of promoting social justice. And it's really an exciting time to grow in your career and to really make a lot out of what's happening in the world right now as part of your growth. Both personally and professionally. So it's interesting that you brought that up.
Yeah, this is the year of the nurse.
Mm-hmm, that's right.
And
Yeah.
what a time to be a nurse, right?
Yes, right. Yes.
Okay, great. So
Thank you so much,
you.
Dean Thompson. Okay.
Oh,
right.
one question. No. That's
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Take care.
Okay, thank you. Next slide. Okay. Next we have Dr. Ann Gukoma, who is our department chair. So again, remember, in the College of Nursing and Health Science, we also have the School of Exercise Science. And Dr. Gakumo is our department chair for nursing. So Dr. Gakumo, if you can introduce yourself. Oh, wait, I have your bio, excuse me. Dr. Gakumo's program of research focuses on the development of testing of literacy-based approaches to improve health disparities in African Americans living with HIV. She's been involved in multiple interdisciplinary research projects funded by the Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, and the National Institute on Minority Health and Health Disparities, among others. Her most recent research focuses on health literacy and communication to improve medication adherence in older African Americans with HIV. She also provided her expertise to nationally funded programs to identify strategies in teaching health literacy topics and linking patient-centered outcomes to medical and staff workforce education. So thank you, Dr. Gakumo, for coming today and addressing our new enrollees.
Thank you, Dr. Hackle, for the introduction. And I, definitely echo your sentiments and the Dean's sentiments as far as us being mindful of the recent events going on in our country. And, the need for healing and change. And so, we as a college definitely hold, core values that are important to us: diversity, equity, inclusion. As you all, as students, continue and progress in our program, you will see that that is, very explicitly interwoven throughout the curriculum, and that's by design. So yes, I'd like to welcome you all today to the orientation for the Master's in Nursing program, and the fact that you all were selected for this cohort really says a lot about the quality of the student that you all are, as well as your potential to succeed in our program. And, as you continue throughout this day, you are going to get a lot of information. So just pace yourselves, take it all in. Know that we are here to support you and make sure that you do well and, will be successful in the program. I remember when I first received my PhD in nursing, and I had my first teaching assignment. I took a group of eight students to clinical. These were fresh new nursing students. Many of them had never set foot on in a clinical setting, and I remember our first day we were in a vascular surgery unit, and many of them were scared to death, right? And when we were having our pre-conference before it was time to go out to the floor and take care of patients, I remember asking them what their biggest fear is. And I told them, don't say it out loud. I don't want to know what it is at this point. This is something for you to think about. What is your biggest fear when it comes to progressing in our program and getting your degree and starting to take care of patients for the first time? And I asked them to write it down on a sheet of paper, fold it up, put it away, and at the end of the semester, after I had the opportunity to see them take care of patients and, really had the chance to see them grow at the end of the semester, when it was time for us to do our evaluations for the course, I asked them to pull out that piece of paper. And some of the answers several of the answers that many of the students had, that was their biggest fear, is killing a patient. I don't want to kill a patient. And I say all that to say, I told them, look how far you've progressed from day one up until this point. And so, I pose that question to you all. As you begin in our master's program, what's your biggest fear? Is it failing a course? Is it, having that work-life balance? Is it the uncertainties of our recent pandemic and not really being not really having a full grasp of how this will affect your education? Whatever your fear is, sometime today, take a moment, write down that fear, fold it up, put it away, bury it, I don't know. And when it comes time for you to graduate, on the day of graduation, which is such an amazing time for all of us, I want you to revisit what that is. And I'd like for you all to really, ponder over it and think about how you feel today, and or how you feel, this day as you're looking backward. And also the feeling that you have of succeeding and getting your master's degree. And you'll really be able to see how far you've progressed and how far you've grown in our program. So just think on those things today. I'd like to welcome you again to UMass Boston. We're here to support you, and thank you for being here during this time and for allowing me to come and talk to you for a few minutes.
Great. Thank you so much. Wonderful introduction. Okay, next slide. Okay, the president of the University of Massachusetts system is President Marty Meehan, and our chancellor-elect is Marcelo Suarez Oroso. And there's a brief video here that, can you make that play, Leah? Dr. Gordon? Looks like it's trying to open.
Can people see this?
I still see the slide with Marty Meehan's
Oh,
picture.
hold on.
You might have to
Hold on.
change the screen. There we go.
So,
We're not getting sound.
no.
Is your sound up, that little sound thing?
Can you hear it now?
I can't.
I don't know.
Well, there he is in action. We can all send you all the links so you can see it from a few
on.
months ago.
Hold on. Sorry.
This is the first time we've done this virtual thing, so.
Can you see the slides now?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay. Let's just
Okay.
do that.
Yeah. Okay, so this is what the first University of Massachusetts Boston looked like. It was in a building in downtown Boston. You can see it says there, University of Massachusetts. And you may or may not know there's multiple campuses around, the flagship campus being in Amherst, but we have one in Boston, there's Dartmouth, there's Lowell. And it's really exciting to be part of a larger system. The Umass Boston grew so much that we moved out to Columbia Peninsula. The next slide there, you can see in 2015, our campus was, originally had this sort of brutalist architecture with a lot of cement when it was built in the late 60s. And now it's really expanding to have wonderful new buildings that have glass atriums and beautiful classrooms, smart classrooms with a lot of technology. This is the integrated science complex that was built when I came in 2013. We have a lot of meetings and classes there. So originally the new School of Nursing was going to be in the integrated science complex, but they needed the space for their chemistry labs and whatnot. So we remained in the old science building and just moved to the Quinn building in January of this year. Here's the new University Hall that's adjacent to the campus center. It has wonderful classrooms in it that we have a lot of our classes in there for the master students. So I hope that you enjoy your classes that are in there that aren't online. Okay, our next speaker is Monique Sherry Cooper. She is the
Hold on.
director.
I'm not sure Monique has joined us yet.
Okay, well, I'll introduce her anyway, and we'll talk a little bit about things related to her. Monique she's going to be receiving her PhD in learning, leadership, and educational policy in adult learning in May 2020. So she just received it from the University of Connecticut Stores, where she is conducting a research study entitled, "Do We Practice What We Preach? An investigation of how career educators know, understand, and practice intercultural and global fluency." Very apropos right now with the global pandemic. She has a master's in education and school counseling from Cambridge College in Springfield, Mass., where she studied the effectiveness of sex education on teen pregnancy rates, and a bachelor's degree in human development and family studies from the University of Connecticut. While we're waiting for Monique to come on the line and talk to you about her services to support your success, we can go to the next slide. Dr. Gordon? Oh, okay, so that's about the break. Well, I can talk to you a little bit more about other services that are available in the college. We're all going to be, meeting with you for advising. And during the semesters, when students have difficulty achieving the minimum required 83% of a course, which is a B or better, Monique can sit down and talk with you about study skills and communication with your professor, and be a liaison to your professor if there's been miscommunications. If there's issues that come up in your family and you need more time, you need an incomplete, and there's friction with you and your professor about how to get your needs met in the course. She's really there to support your success and engage you in creating your own success toward graduation.
Can I just add to that, Jenny?
Yeah.
Dr. Hackle, sorry. Hi, this is Dr. Gordon. I'm the FNP track coordinator, and just wanted to share that Monique is a new member to the Umass Boston campus, and she's been very valuable in helping us navigate the space as it relates to COVID, and helping our students complete their coursework. So she's somebody who has become very quickly a very valuable resource, not only to the staff and faculty, but also to our student body as well.
Good morning, I'm here.
Oh, yay!
Oh, good. There you are.
Trying to be prompt at 10:30, so I apologize.
I guess we sort of moved a little quicker than we anticipated that we would. So
Yeah,
can you
no,
go ahead and
fine.
take the floor? I read your bio, so.
Oh gosh.
Hooray.
Oh, I'm happy I missed that then. Perfect.
You said you're about to receive your doctorate in May 2020. Oops, I should have updated the verbiage here.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. No worries. All right. So am I up? Should I share my screen?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get it so that you can. Hold on one second.
Okay.
We were unable to play that video, so that was part of how we're done a little bit earlier.
No worries. How's everyone doing this morning, students? You doing all right? Yeah.
We asked them to mute their mic to minimize
Not
feedback.
ideal, right?
Ugh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I am having a hard time getting us so you can share. Hold on. Can you try and share and see if that works?
It says disabled.
Okay, so I'm just trying to.
I think you can make me a co-host if you want.
Okay, if I can do that, that'd be great. Hold on. There we go.
Yay. Okay, excellent. All right. So pulling up the presentation now. I was actually really excited to put this presentation together because it speaks a lot to some of my recent experience being a grad student and trying to navigate life. So I'm hoping that I could share, some tips and tricks and wisdom that I've gained along the years. Can you all see that? Give me a thumbs up. You can see my screen. Excellent. So I called this presentation Living That Grad School Life because I think that really speaks to all of the challenges that we're facing when we enter and decide to enter into grad school. I have a couple of my best friends that are all in grad school together as working professionals. And whenever we can't go to a certain function because we're busy or we can't, socialize in the way that we want to because we have work piling up on us, our response is always like, living that grad school life. And eventually someday things will slow down and get better. But it's kind of a funny little joke that we have among us. So here I put together some tips for success in graduate school, and I'm hoping to share them with you. Now, these are not, the end-all be-all. This is just something to sort of get you thinking about how you are going to approach this phase in your life and how you're going to maximize your chance for success throughout the process. And it's really about setting up the supports and the systems in place for yourself so that you can really be the best version of yourself. So let me go over here. All right, so these are some of the learning objectives that I have designed, and I hope that we can address throughout the presentation. So it's really about beginning to understand and explore your roles and responsibilities and how they might intersect or change as you go on through the process. By show of hands, how many people are working full-time or working in some capacity during this process? A good chunk of you, probably all of you. I see the little boxes going here. So that's a big responsibility, and being able to navigate that. So what does that look like for you? The second objective that I'm hoping for is that you, by the end of my session, start to think about what your plan is for success. Oftentimes we don't think about what we need to be doing until we're in high stress, energy depleted environments. And so I want you to think about now, what are you going to do in order to tackle those tasks and your multiple responsibilities now, when stress may be a little bit lower than maybe in the height of when you're in coursework and clinicals and all that stuff. The second is to leverage effective communication strategies. So oftentimes, we communicate with one another and we hope that we are being the most effective communicators, but sometimes there may be some miscues that happen, which also then leads to stress and anxiety. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the communication strategies that I have found particularly helpful when interacting not only with your colleagues and your professors and college staff and faculty, but also with yourself. There is a self-talk that we do, and sometimes that communication with ourselves is not healthy. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then lastly, what are the UMB resources that are here to assist you? All right, so this is our agenda. So do a little self-reflection. This is an interactive presentation to the best that it can be. I'm not a lecturer by any sense of the imagination. I wasn't trained that way as a teacher. So oftentimes my workshops will really be interactive based, as all of the other great faculty are in this call, I'm sure. So we'll have some activities. I'll offer you some information, some resources, and then you'll walk away thinking about your plan. All right, so first up is, what is OSSI? I missed the intro, so I don't know if Leah went over this a little bit or what our office does, so I won't. Was that part of it? I'm assuming it was.
If you could expand on it, it'd be great.
Okay, awesome. So the Office of Student Success Support and Engagement is really here as your one-stop shop to help you with anything that you may need. So if you have challenges in the classroom, if you have challenges outside the classroom, you can certainly feel free to come to our office and we'll help you to develop a plan and support you throughout that process, as well as connect you with resources. Additionally, we house the Writing House office, which is our writing center. So if you have papers or things that you want to get critiqued or get some feedback on, we have the Writing Center as well to help you. And then lastly, we have our SIPO office, which is the clinical office that places you and helps with clinical clearances. So if you are, I'm sure at some point, going to be trained in like Complio and In Place and things like that, you would be able to seek help from the SIPO office as well. All right, any questions about that? I can't see a hand raised, so Leah, I'm going to defer to you to stop me. Okay, so that's OSSI, and who am I? So I put all these pictures up to give you a sense of who I am and all of my multiple responsibilities. So currently I hold the role within the college as the Senior Director of Student Success Support and Engagement. I'm also a mother of 3, and these are my children here, a wife, a homemaker, a student, so I'm finishing up my doctoral studies. So when I say that I understand what living that grad school life is, I really do. And I hope that, you will use me and the OSSI office when you do experience some challenges. Because it's definitely not easy. And it's definitely not easy in quarantine to be doing all of these things which you all are, embarking on. So The struggle is real. The challenges are great at times, but you can get through it together. So I just wanted to share a little bit about me, and I use she, her pronouns. All right, so let's get into it. Enough about me, let's talk about you. So what I want you to do is take 30 seconds, on a piece of paper or on your notes on your laptop, and I want you to reflect a little bit. I want you to reflect on the many hats that you wear right now, and then make sure that you add student to it. So I'm gonna set my timer for 30 seconds. I hope you didn't start. You don't wanna cheat. Not that there's really cheating here, but come on. All right, so 30 seconds, and I want you to go ahead. Go ahead. Okay, you have about 5 seconds left. Okay, there's my little timer. All right. So would anybody be willing to share some of their hats with us? And you could just unmute yourself and you can share a couple. Don't be shy. You don't have to share all of them, maybe just one or two.
Okay, I can share.
Thank you, Taylor. I appreciate the first student that speaks up. Thank you.
So some of my hats are mother, ICU nurse, wife, homemaker, student now, daughter.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? We'll take one more person.
I'll share. You can't see me on video. It's Jill. I have about 10. I'm a mom, a wife, a director of my building, now a student, a friend, a daughter, a nurse, a counselor, a teacher now for my children, and a patient as well.
Right, a teacher. I forgot to add that. That's the new one. Yes, great. So I'm gonna put, I think I have the ability to do a poll. Well, maybe it was disabled. That's okay. So about how many are you all talking? I heard Jill say 10. What are some numbers of hats that you're wearing? More than 10? By show of hands, how many of you? Okay, more than 10. Anyone more than 15? Yeah. So as you begin to think about those hats, they're gonna intersect, right? So they're going to have competing responsibilities and tasks. I know for me, sometimes, I have deadlines that are conflicting, and then I'm trying to get something done, and then, one of my daughters starts screaming, and so I have to pause that task and then attend to that. So it's important that you think about, setting up some sort of system for yourself. I'm not saying that the system is going to alleviate any interruptions, but at least it gives you a plan. So I'm going to share 2 tips that I use regularly. This is actually one of my to-do lists, so excuse the messy handwriting here. But tip 1 is I use what's called an action-oriented to-do list. So this is an ABC 1, 2, 3 approach. At the end of every night and the beginning of every morning, I sit down and I write my to-do list for the next day, or sometimes it's for the week. It just depends on what's on my mind. And then what I do is I go through and I rank and prioritize them. So all of the A tasks are tasks that I absolutely need to get done first. They're my high priority tasks. So those are the ones that I know they can't wait. My B tasks are sort of those medium level tasks. They need to happen, but if they don't happen in the next 24 to 48 hours, that's okay. And C are my lower level tasks. not meaning that they're not as important, but they're things that could wait. And so I go through my to-do list, and I first do my ABC categorization, and then I do a 1, 2, 3 approach. So what am I going to do first? What am I going to do second? And then what am I going to do third? So you can see, like, creating a PowerPoint slide for you all was really important. So I needed to do that first before I tackled anything else. Whereas calling my friend Mia back, like, she loves me, and if I don't call her back in 24 hours, she'll be all right. And so those ended up being a C category. So this has really helped to organize my thoughts and my time, and focus me to tackle bigger tasks first. The second tip is a daily or weekly schedule. So again, every night, every morning, I go through my schedule for the next day. I block out time to get those A tasks done. I have block out time that's uninterruptible and ones that are interruptible. So I communicate very well with my husband, and I say, you know, from this time to this time, I can't be interrupted, so he'll take the kids, right? And so then I have other times that I'm flexible. So, you know, I could sort of multitask in that way, and maybe do a B level or a C level task. And so I plan out my day so that I know what blocks of time are necessary, and then I communicate that with my team. So my team includes my husband right now, because we're in quarantine, and that's the only person I can talk to and be physically around. But normally my team might consist of a babysitter, or my sister, or my mom, or other people that are around me to support me. Okay. All right, so you have your to-do list, you have your weekly schedule, but life is going to get busy, and there are going to be times for self-care that need to happen. And oftentimes we think of self-care as like a day at the spa, or, you know, our favorite dessert. And while those do all oftentimes fall into self-care, sometimes we need to get a little more granular with it and say, what makes me happy? So we're going to do another activity. And what I want you to do is, in 10 seconds, I want you to write all of the things down that make you happy. And it can be as small as my morning cup of coffee, which I don't consider actually that small, that's quite large, or, you know, something a little bigger. So I'm going to set the timer. All right. That was a quick 10 seconds. So what I want to do is go around, and I want everybody to just list, how many people do we have on this call? Like 40, 30 something?
41.
41. Is the chat enabled?
Yes,
Maybe
it is.
the chat is better. Okay. What, if you don't mind, in the chat, put one of the things that makes you happy. And what I want you to do, students, is think about your list, and then if there's anything in the chat that you want to add that makes someone else happy, maybe it makes you happy too. And so you can add to your list. It's really important to have your go-to things. So for example, for me, you know, my coffee is something that makes me really happy. So I prioritize getting it in the morning so that I could start my day. Maybe it's listening to your favorite song. Maybe it's, you know, having a certain food item. You have to have those small go-tos ready to go, because when times get stressed out, that's going to be the list that you want to refer to, that you can get through whatever challenge you're getting through. Because you might not have a whole day to go up to the spa, or to, you know, spend engaging in self-care. So small things are equally important. So some tips for self-care for the busy student is to establish, oh, go ahead, Leah.
I was going to say, and before you move on to the next slide, there are, just looking at the chat, there's some really great feedback on things that make people happy, and just wanted to take a minute to share. Like, people were saying their pets, having dinner with a loved one, taking a bike ride, morning walks, listening to music, going outside. So, you know, really great chiming in here of our students.
Wonderful. So I challenge you tonight, or in your action planning time, to expand your list. So you may have had things you came up with, but take some of these other ones. And if you don't do that regularly, try it and see if that's something that, you know, you enjoy and that does make you happy, which a lot of these things are pretty common. So I'm happy to see that. But definitely as the weather gets nicer, getting outside is really important. Thanks, Leah. So some tips for the self-care for the busy student is establishing that morning routine. So for me, it's getting up, taking, you know, my shower, doing my makeup. Like, these are things that I do every morning because it makes me feel good and it sets me in a good mental state to tackle the day. So whatever that looks like for you, I would encourage you to write it down and start to do it every day so that you can really get mentally prepared to tackle the day. The next is practicing positive self-talk. So oftentimes we have these internal narratives in our head, particularly when we get busy, we might, oops, sorry, I'm getting a FaceTime. It's my mom's birthday, so she was FaceTiming me back. I'm sorry. Oftentimes we get in our head, particularly when we're busy, about all of the things that we're not doing very well. And we get guilty, and then we start to trash talk ourselves, essentially. So when that begins to happen, you have to have some affirmations for yourself that you can recite over and over again so that you don't fall into these negative internal dialogues that are only going to bring you down, and only highlight the things that you feel like you're doing wrong that necessarily aren't true, but that we put on ourselves. So, you know, having an affirmation list of things that you are really good at. You know, I'm a really great partner. I'm a really great mother. I'm a really great, you know, sister. I'm a really great whatever. So that you can constantly combat your internal narrative. The next is reward yourself. So you want to do this often. So little things go a long way when they're done often. So even if you pick, you know, every day to give yourself a little reward or a bigger reward every week, whatever works for you. But you have to take time, small moments for yourself. The next is to set boundaries and stick to them. So when you are living that grad school life, there are going to be a lot of things that might get thrown at you. You know, I had friends that were like, hey, you know, why don't you come out for a drink, or why don't you come out for dinner, or, you know, why don't you do this, or why don't you do that? And, you know, sometimes it's just not feasible. Like, I would love to do that, but I also have, you know, a 10-page paper that I need to write. And so I need to be able to focus on that. And once I set those boundaries and my friends and family understood them, it made it easier to say no. It made it easier to have them understand that right now I have to prioritize these hats that I'm wearing. And once I'm able to, you know, I will then go out or do whatever it is that you need me to do. But those boundaries are really important. And you have to stick to them and communicate them as often as you have to. And then that leads me to my last point, which is communicating what you need. So whether that's with your partner, whether that's with other family and friends, whether that's with faculty and professors, you know, you have to communicate what you need in a timely and in a professional capacity. Because if you're having challenges, people aren't gonna necessarily know unless you share it. So being able to develop those strong relationships with other people in your circle that you can communicate things is super important. So with that, I want to switch gears a little bit from self-care to communication, but I want to pause and see if anybody has any questions or anything. And again, Leah, I'm gonna rely on you.
Sure, if anybody wants to type a question into the chat, that would be great.
Well, we're not getting anything, right?
No, nothing is yet.
All right, so I'm going to move on and talk a little bit about effective communication strategies. So I want you to look at this model. This is called the Transactional Model of Communication from the National Communication Association. And communication is one of those buzzwords that I say likes to get thrown around a lot. And oftentimes, so I review resumes, and a lot of times people have on their resume like effective communicator, but sometimes they're not always the most effective. And I think that it's really because we haven't dissected what communication looks like for some people. So I thought that this visual was important for you to begin to think about, what is communication? What is the science of communication? But more importantly, where do the miscues happen? So when you are communicating things, whether it's to your professor, to your partner, to family and friends, sometimes there is miscues and there's messages that get jumbled. And so I'm wondering if we could have a brief conversation within this model. If you look at it, where do you think these where do you think these miscues are happening? So here, I don't know, can people see my pointer? Yeah, okay, cool. So here you have the communicator. So this is, a person who's sending and also receiving messages. So they're on both sides. And these messages go through codes. They go through certain channels that are set up and different for each one of them. So these channels might look like things like your cultural background, your environment, your hats, the many hats that you're wearing. All of these channels are different for different people, right, on both sides. And then here in the middle is the message that's being ping-ponged, right, back and forth between both of the communicators. But as you see, they have to be encoded and decoded through these channels as mitigating factors, right? And so if we look at this, where do you think, and I'm going to ask for some audience participation here, where do you think these miscues are happening within this model?
You can again use the chat.
You can use the chat, you can talk to me. I like talking, obviously.
They can happen at any point in the cycle.
Mm-hmm.
As Brianna Howard has contributed to that. Howard.
Brianna, can you say more? Say more about any point in the cycle.
You can unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, I just think that they can happen whether you're the communicator sending the message or you're the receiver receiving the message, and whether or not the tone is portrayed. Sorry, my dog. For me, they can just happen at any point, and I have to mute because my dog's going to go crazy when I talk.
That's okay. That's okay. No, you're right. And I think, this brings me actually back to a situation that I had yesterday where I had to call the insurance company. And I thought I was communicating exactly the situation to the most clearest and direct point that I could. But I also realized, to your point that I want to bring up, is that my tone might have been a little off. And it might have been a little off because, both of my daughters were screaming in the background and I was frustrated and whatever. But so even my clearest direct attempt to communicate a message to the customer service rep at the insurance company was clouded, right? And so we had this back and forth with her trying to understand what I was asking for and what I was saying. And so you're right. And sometimes the onus is on us of how we're communicating, and the onus may also be on the person receiving the message. So I think that that's such a great point, is that sometimes we need to step back and do some self-reflection on how am I communicating something that a miscue might be happening as a result of something that I may have done, and own that, right? And then help to resolve whatever challenges may be. So thank you for bringing that up. That's really a great point. Are there any other chat things I'm missing?
Yes. It's the same. Brianna was saying that can happen at any point in the cycle. She had to mute because the dog was barking. So
Okay.
that's the only other comment.
Great. Thank you. So tip 8 for me, and I'm a relationship person, is really about building relationships throughout your grad school process. These relationships are going to help you to effectively communicate. There are people in my life that I can say things to with my tone, with my directness, with all of Monique, and it will be received in the manner that I want it to be because I have that relationship with them. Right? So if you don't take the time to build that relationship with your faculty, with your peers in your classes, with, you know, Dr. Gordon and Dr. Heckel, it's important that you do that so that you can effectively communicate whatever, positive or negative, that may come throughout this process. So for me, building relationships is the key to communication. So how do you do that? Number one, it takes time. You are all starting this orientation together. I hope that relationships are starting to form even through the glass pane that separates us, but that you're starting to get to know each other, that you're starting to learn more about each other in a genuine way, and be open to building those relationships and to learning about other people. Not everybody is going to think the same. Not everybody is going to act the same, and that's okay. But we need to understand that diversity of thought and diversity of background and diversity of communication styles is okay. But we can't get to there until you build those relationships with one another. So it really does take time, and you have to be genuinely interested in the process. So genuinely interested in learning about other people, in hearing thoughts that may be different than your own, and being open to learning about things that you may not know about, or you might not have had experience with, or that might not be on your radar, quite frankly. You know, so there are things throughout this program, topics that might not be on your radar, but being open to learning about that and learning about other people's experiences are really important. And being willing to actively listen to the other person. Listening is such a, you know, underrated skill in some senses. And active listening is really about shutting off your inner dialogue and not trying to draft a response to what that person is saying before that person has finished saying whatever it is they're saying. So actively listening involves all parts of yourself: your eyes, your ears, your mouth, your heart, your brain, so that you can really be able to take in the messaging that somebody else is giving you, process it, and then craft a response after you've heard everything. So, like I said, it takes time, but I really do believe that a lot of problems, a lot of issues can be resolved when we communicate effectively and when we build upon those relationships. How am I doing on time? Let me look. Oh boy. A couple more minutes. Okay, I will speed. So the next tip is enlisting help. So inevitably there might be, well, I hope there might not be an issue, but if there is, you might need to enlist some help of others. So you want to start with your faculty. You know, if there is an issue in the classroom, you want to address it with your faculty member in a respectful, positive, and professional way. You can also come to our office. Maybe you need to brainstorm how to do that, brainstorm how to address it with the faculty. We're here to support you. The faculty are all wonderful and want, you know, you to succeed. So knowing that everybody is on your side is really important. If issues escalate beyond that, you also have your track coordinators there to help you, who work very closely with faculty as well as OSSI. You have Anne. I know Anne is on the call. So Anne is another, Dr. Gitmo, sorry, is another person that will be able to help you. And then you also have, even beyond that, the Associate Dean of Academic Affairs. So, but I want to reiterate that this is a process that you need to go through each one of these people in order to enlist the help. You don't want to jump to the Associate Dean without having first talked to Dr. Gitmo, without having first talked to Dr. Gordon, without having first talked to me or somebody else in OSSE, and even more importantly, your faculty. So understanding the process is really important. You know, you're not going to necessarily get the result you want if you don't follow the process. So it's important to understand that. Dr. Gordon, do you have anything to add there? Or?
Yeah, I mean, our students who are joining us today are nurses, currently nurses. So many of them understand that, you know, if you have an issue at a department level, sometimes you enlist your clinical nurse specialist, your nursing director or nurse manager before you go to the president of the hospital. So just being mindful of the step-by-step process in terms of looking for the change that you want and creating effective change, it helps to go through the steps.
Thank you. Tip 10 is strategic emails. So even in this virtual quarantine world, emailing is important, and it was important before that, but feels like it's even more important now because it's our primary mode of communication with everybody. So you want to be strategic about the emails that you send. Make sure that you are using appropriate spelling, type grammars. You know, Grammarly is a great tool. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but you can download it as a browsing add-on, because sometimes if you have, and I've gotten these emails where, you know, we're not quite clear what you're saying because the grammar is off, or there's like excessive amount of typos, that is going to lose the messaging that you're trying to get out of that email. So I know that you're all nurses and professionals, so I'm sure that is not an issue at all, but I just want to put that out there. The next is a 24-hour rule. So sometimes in the heat of a stressful situation, we are going to fire off an email, and that might not be the email that we want to send in the morning. So I would encourage you to wait to send emails, particularly ones that may have an emotional charge behind them, before you send it. So just waiting 24 hours, waiting to the morning, rereading it, reading it out loud. I find that when I read my emails out loud, you know, to my partner, he's like, that's probably not the best way to say that. And so then I have to go and retype it. So reading it out loud has been really helpful for me. And then you want to be as clear and concise as possible in the emails. So what was, you know, if you're describing a situation, what was the situation? What happened? What do you want to see happen? Or what are you hoping to accomplish from the email? So those are really important steps when you're drafting the email, and try to be, you know, really concise. Not a lot of people want to read like a super long email, even though, you know, it might be necessary. Maybe if it does need to be super long, then the email is shorter, saying, hey, do you have time to chat for a few minutes? And then that email turns into actual conversation, which might be more fruitful for whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. So just some things to keep in mind about emailing and being as strategic as possible with your emails. And the last part is sending it to the right person. So as we talked about with this process here, you're making sure that your email has gone through the appropriate channels. All right, so I'm dwindling down on my time here, but I want to leave you with this, and that is really to develop a plan. What is your game plan for success? What does your to-do list look like? What does your schedule look like? What are your coping mechanisms, your self-care mechanisms? What is the plan in times where you might need to enlist help? What does that look like for you? And really sit down, take, 10 minutes and really think about this before you embark on this journey and your coursework starts for you. And then lastly, within your plan, you're not alone. You have resources. So I've put a couple of different links here, which I'm happy to send out. I know Leah has the PowerPoint, so I'm sure you can make it available. So we have the link to our office. You have the link to academic regulations through the university. Those are important to know, at the graduate level of what are the regulations. There's also academic support services at the university level. So if you do need additional services, those are available to you. We have career services, although I know you will be connected with different career professionals in the field, both in your personal and professional experience, but also through your educational experience as well. We have the Dean of Students who's here to advocate on your behalf if you need anything. Counseling office if you need any counseling and mental health services. And then the Ross Center is there to help with accommodations for any students who may need it. So I will stop talking and entertain questions. I hope that you found this presentation helpful to you.
Thank you, Dr. Cooper. Let me see if any questions come in. Not yet. I just want to let the students know that we're not, the orientation is not over. There's still a lot of MS information that we're going to be sharing with you. So please, if you don't have questions, don't go too far. Several people are thanking you for your presentation.
Oh, thank you.
We thank you as well.
Great. And here's my contact information. Certainly reach out if you need anything.
Okay.
Yeah, I also want to thank you, Dr. Cooper. It really, sets the tone for a very positive beginning, despite, very challenging times right now in our world and on campus with, social distancing is necessary to stop the spread of the pandemic, but social closeness is needed for success as a grad student. So how we can achieve closeness with technology is sort of the name of the game right now.
Yeah. So no questions as of yet, just thank yous.
Okay, wonderful. So
feel free to email Dr. Cooper if you have any questions coming up. And how would you like people to address you?
Oh, Monique is fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm fine, Monique. Thank you for asking. That's perfectly fine. All right. Well, I will bid you farewell. Best of luck on the rest of the day, and best of luck as you begin this new hat that you're going to wear. So, thank you so much.
Great advice. Thank you. All right, so we're going to delve in now to your specific line of study. There's basically two advanced practice nurses tracks right now. We have the adult gerontological nurse practitioner and the family nurse practitioner. The vast majority of our students are on the master's track, but there are students who have been admitted into the BS to DNP program and run along with you in the master's track during their first 48 credits. Next slide. Currently now in the U.S. News and World Report study about master's programs in the country, Umass Boston comes out 66th, which there are hundreds of programs in the country, so that's good. And our DNP program is 74th. They base these things on, how much research is going on in the university, how dynamic the faculty are, how well prepared. A bunch of other different criteria are used, and our program is quite strong. So that's the bottom line. We have the FNP and AGNP programs, as I mentioned. In the doctoral program area, we have a PhD in health in health policy or population health. And the DNP is the Doctor of Nursing Practice, where also students can do their scholarly project in areas of health policy or population health, but may want to look at a quality improvement project in a clinical practice area. There's also students that are already have a master's in nursing. Maybe they're a pediatric nurse practitioner and they come to become a family nurse practitioner or adult gerontological nurse practitioner. Or they might have a general master's in nursing or nursing education, and they want to get a clinical certificate to practice. So those are online programs where they will find clinical placements in their home state while doing the online classes along with you in some of the master's classes. We also have a postmaster's nurse educator certificate, And soon we will be starting our master's in psych mental health nursing to get psych mental health nurse practitioners. So there's a huge need for that in the country now. Next slide. So the Doctor of Nursing practice, it used to be an additional 2 or 3 years if you wanted to go on for your DNP, and we have now whittled it down to 30 credits. My postmaster's DNP was 40 credits, so let me tell you, that's a lot of classes you don't have to take, where we crunch the content into fewer classes. It's online, it's open to certified and practicing advanced practice nurses. The focus is mostly on leadership and quality improvement. And we hope that many of you will consider it. Whoops, I think we missed one there. The reason I like this slide, that Leah got this picture of training to be a nurse with donning a mask, and that's very apropos right now with the pandemic. We have to learn to have the world learn to don masks, not just nurses. So if you're in the part-time program, it's going to take you 3 years to get through, and if you're in the full-time program, 2 years to get through. I'm going to explain a little bit more about part-time versus full-time when we get to the actual program plans, because some people come in as part-time and they say, gosh, I'm going to be changing jobs, so maybe I can speed up to full-time, but we really need to come in as a full-time student, so I'll be explaining that. The BS to DNP, similarly, because you have to be tacking on 30 more credits to the 48 of the masters, it's going to take you 4 to 5 years between the when you start and when you get your DNP, or 2 to 3 years, depending on how quickly you can do the doctoral courses.
And Dr. Hackle, I just want to add that sometimes some of our full-time MS students realize that the course load, along with trying to work and maintain that work-life balance that Dr. Cooper spoke about, is challenging. And so sometimes they end up dialing back to a part-time status.
Right. So, and everything is negotiable. We prefer that people sort of stay in the cohorts they join, but we know that life happens, and we try to be flexible with people. So I'll talk a little bit more about that. Okay, so that's me. That's when I came in 7 years ago. I've gotten a few gray hairs since then. I am going to be leaving my tenure at Umass at the end of August this year. And the next slide shows the incoming coordinator of the Adult Gerontological Nurse Practitioner Program, Jessica Bardina. So she will be taking the reins. And here's our wonderful Leah Gordon, who is the Family Nurse Practitioner Coordinator. And I love UMB emails. It's pretty easy to see first name dot last name. There is a number added if there's more than one person that has the same name. But for most of us, it works just to do first and last name. Priscilla Gazarian is the director of the doctoral program, so she's overseeing both the PhD and the DNP programs at this time. So she accepted the students that came into the BS to DNP program, but you still would work with your track coordinator for your time during the master's portion of your education. And then we have our wonderful program assistants. Carlos Salas is on the line. You all have had contact with him regarding your application and, getting invited to this orientation and your RSVP and any questions about registration. And then Lourdes Ortiz Tapper helps with the DNP and PhD program students.
I think Carlos is on the line. I don't know if Carlos wants to say anything at this time.
Got to unmute your mic, Carlos.
Yeah, sorry, my internet connection got kind of screwy. Hello, everybody. As Dr. Hackle Gordon mentioned, my name is Carlos Salas, and you've heard of me through email and some of the discussions that we've had in the past. And I want to welcome you to the program and let you know that what my role is in this program. It's kind of like a liaison between your track coordinators and some of the major offices on campus. So if you ever have any questions, issues, comments, concerns, don't know where to go or who to go to, please do not be shy about reaching out to me, okay? Let me know. Sometimes I can handle it for you like that. Worst case scenario, I have to point you into the proper direction. But again, in short, don't be shy. Reach out to me, and we'll figure things out, all right? Welcome, and I look forward to working with you all.
And Carlos, can you speak a little bit to the fact that you also man the Masters of Nursing email?
Correct. So when you have seen or received emails from the Master's Nursing at umb.edu, I am also behind that account as well. So I am managing the Carlos Salas one that you've been dealing with and the Master's Nursing one as well. Now that you are fully accepted students and you're a part of the program, I would suggest that you go straight to the Carlos.Salas one. That's my one that I keep open in front of me all 8.5 hours that I am on it. And then I sparingly check the other account. So please come directly to the one that you see listed here.
Thank you.
In our genetics research, we are trying to figure out how to clone Carlos, because Carlos also works for the exercise science department within the College of Nursing and Health Sciences. And so he's kind of spread thin, but be patient. We all try to get back with students within 24 hours, even if it's just to say, can we handle this at the end of the week or whatever because of other more pressing issues. But we're all doing our best.
Yeah.
So just, again, being kind and understanding with each other. We really rely on students to be oriented and be proactive, so things aren't suddenly at the last minute, you need to help me with this yesterday. It creates a lot of stress for everybody. So be understanding that we all have a lot to do. So the objectives of the Master of Science program is to be sure that all of our graduates can ultimately do the following, 10 or 11 things. The first is demonstrate competence in advanced nursing practice and management of health and illness for individual, family, and aggregate populations using critical thinking and clinical decision making. The next is to sustain individual and family relationships that promote therapeutic healthcare outcomes for diverse populations. And I really want to highlight this because I don't think this is really talked about in medical education. This is a core objective in nursing, that you look at the patient in their family context. And if you're educating a newly diagnosed person with diabetes, and their wife or mother or housemate is going to be doing the shopping and cooking, you need to think about, how they need to understand the disease also, and that therapeutic relationships are really, really critical for the health of your patient. Design, implement, and evaluate health teaching plans for individuals, families, and communities. You remember that from your Bachelor of Science in Nursing too. Plan comprehensive continuous care through interdisciplinary partnerships across healthcare settings. And I want you to think about this when you go into a clinical site to develop your competencies as an adult geriatric or as a family nurse practitioner. When you're working with whoever your preceptor is, I want you to think about the fact that you're really working with that team. So when your preceptor says, I think I'm hearing a heart murmur, maybe we need to get an echocardiogram and picture that the patient exists within a system of healthcare, and there may be another physician or a social worker or a dietitian or a physical therapist, a cardiologist, a dermatologist, that the patient has at their disposal, all these people that their insurance, we hope, will cover, and that you need to know how to work within that team, even though you have a working relationship with your preceptor. By extension, you need to be a team member with all of their team members. So have that in your mind and talk to your preceptor about that as you see patients. Next slide. So continuing with the objectives, you want to, did you skip a slide, or is that the next one? Because there's 2 more objective slides. Yeah. Okay, manage and negotiate for high quality, cost-effective, and accessible healthcare across integrated systems. At our master's level, what we're wanting you to think about is that healthcare is expensive, right? And we have a problem with healthcare being too expensive in this country. So if somebody comes in with a headache and says, I want an MRI of my brain, and you order an MRI of their brain, thinking, that maybe they do have a brain tumor, is that really necessary? That's an extremely expensive test. So you need to advocate for what is cost effective for patients. And that might be educating patients about what's needed. That might be looking at objectives. Sometimes your preceptor will say, okay, we'll just appease this patient and go ahead and get the MRI of the brain. But if you can educate the preceptor too, look, this guideline says if the headache goes away within a week with XYZ treatment, we don't need that MRI of the brain, it wouldn't change the outcome, then that's really very proactive on your part. So it may sound very highfalutin. You've been practicing as an RN, you're now a graduate student. How in the world can you manage and negotiate healthcare costs? But every little bit of part that you play in examining these very important objectives really plays into your becoming an advanced practice professional. We want you also to know how to go ahead, Leah.
I just wanted to add to that and say, throughout the curriculum, you're going to be learning about a very valuable term called differential diagnoses. And so we have to remember as the advanced clinician that our knowledge base is a little bit broader than that of the patient population we're taking care of. So one, this is a great opportunity to do some education. And two, in order to manage the high quality and cost effectiveness of healthcare, we have to work through our differential diagnoses before we just throw any test or any radiologic procedure at a problem. So it's really going to be taking the nursing knowledge that you have and elevating it, using our educational skills, not only with our patient and client community, but also with our preceptors. Many of the courses you will be in will challenge you to look at the evidence-based practice that you utilize, the guidelines that you utilize. And this is not to say that our clinicians out there are not utilizing it, but as a fresh new mind, as a student who's in the process of getting your education, this is an optimal and ideal time for you to introduce the preceptor and the faculty, the clinical faculty you're working with out in the community to maybe updated guidelines that they're not aware of, that you have your finger on the pulse on.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Very, very good point. And that just, goes right into monitoring, ensuring quality of nursing and healthcare practices, utilizing advocacy, health policy research, and ethical decision-making. Design, implement, and evaluate care in relation to ethnocultural and spiritual beliefs with diverse populations. And one more slide on objectives. Apply theories from nursing and other disciplines to the specialized care of individuals and families from diverse populations. I think it's too bad that some nursing students have said, oh, I'm just so sick of nursing theory. I just want to get into, practicing healthcare on the team. And do we really need nursing theories? But there's a bunch of wonderful nursing theoretical frameworks that are very, very important. And when we have you do your master's case study, we want you to show what frame of reference comes in. So for instance, if you're using Watson's theory of caring, you really join with the patient in a relationship where there is, complete and total regard for the patient as a human being that upholds their dignity to make their own choices. And you, in supporting them in this way, in this relationship, they are more forthcoming about, regrets and issues that may be stumbling blocks to them, being more proactive about their health so that you can help them problem solve and be more stronger in their own self-care. So these are the kinds of things in nursing theory that are critical.
And I just want to share and expand on what Dr. Hackle's saying. So when I was going through my bachelor's into my master's program, I kind of was saying to myself, what's the point of theory? And had a really great faculty member really educate us on the importance of theory. Actually, we used Jackie Fawcett's textbook. Dr. Fawcett is one of our faculty member, to look at all of these nursing theories, mid-range, grand, and throughout. And so once I got it, as a nurse, I used to have, and I still have, Margaret Newman's health theory of expanding consciousness at my desk. And it really helps guide my practice. It's helped guide my practice as a nurse and as a nurse practitioner with regards to reasonable expectations of how I work with and encounter the patients that I deal with. And then I'm very big on cultural competence and understanding the diversity within the clients that we deal with. So Dr. Leininger's theory of universality as it relates to cultural issues are two theorists who I follow. So it's really important, I think, at the outset to and you will have coursework that talks about theory, but identify a theorist who you feel connected to and see if you can not only interweave that through your own nursing practice, but throughout your NP program here with us at UMass Boston.
Yeah, really, really great stuff. So we want to help you identify researchable nursing problems and participate in nursing research. And you might say, well, gosh, you know, I'm not in the PhD program. I'm really just here to get my clinical skills to be a nurse practitioner. But just by having that mind of a researcher where you look at, hey, here's a gap in the knowledge, you know, what can I do about that? And when you study evidence-based practice, NU 616, you're going to be writing a systematic review, and that is pulling together research that's in the literature and looking to make findings stronger by combining them. So you really will be participating in nursing research. We also want you to be competent in communicating and consulting with local and regional healthcare providers and policymakers to advocate for high quality healthcare. So for instance, in some of my seminars, I've had students write their local or federal legislators. You know, if you're working at the VA hospital and you want to be able to see, you know, VA nurses do something, you know, that's federal level research. If you want in Massachusetts to have more independent practice, you write your local, you write your state senator about, you know, supporting the current legislation for that, for instance. It's great, actually, right now in the pandemic, they relaxed some of the guidelines that require nurses to have a collaborative practice agreement with a physician, and you can be a nurse practitioner independently. We want to also see that you demonstrate competency in professional oral and written communication, and we really want you to be very good at the APA style, the American Psychological Association writing style is what we use for our sort of, everybody should be good at that. And then if you're going to submit a manuscript for publication, maybe they want you to write it in a different style, but we always start there. So let's talk a little bit more about classroom etiquette. A lot of our classes will be online, but there's still some that meet in the classroom, and we expect you to be planning to arrive at the classroom before the start of class, because it can be disruptive that when if the class starts at 10 a.m. and you're there, or excuse me, like 7, if it's 7 to 10 p.m. and you're getting there at 7:05 or 10 after 7, it's disruptive and it's distracting to students who have gotten there early and really are dedicated to getting as much as they can out of class. If you're on your phone and trying to answer messages and whatnot, that can also be disruptive. Just having a bright screen when you're sitting next to a student who's trying to pay attention. Be very cognizant of you know, the use of technology and really help focus just on the classroom. So we want your cell phones to be off, at least the phone to be silenced. And not be surfing the internet. We sometimes ask you to, you know, look up a guideline, and in that case, maybe you want to get out your phone and use your app or whatnot for the question at hand in the classroom, but otherwise focus on the learning that's happening. In your graduate education, the 3 Ps that are first talked about are physical assessment, pathophysiology, and pharmacology, but the 3 Ps for classroom etiquette are be prepared, be present, and participate. And I think that's really, really important. Early communication, as we've said, be proactive, read the syllabus as soon as you get it, understand how the class is laid out, put all the assignments into your calendar. If you see upcoming that there's going to be a paper due before the mid-semester break, or you're going to be needing to attend a wedding or a birthday party that's going to be important, or you're hosting a guest and it's going to be hard to do that paper, ask your professor ahead of time. Let them know you've got a conflicting life event at the same time. Would they prefer you turn the paper in early, or could you have a week's extension on it? Don't ask the day before the paper is due if you can have an extension, and expect them to say okay. And certainly don't wait until after the paper is due to say, I had this problem, I need another week. At that point, they can just say that you've lost the points that are due.
I just want to add to that, that our faculty is quite flexible and understanding. And oftentimes, you know, even if it's something like Dr. Hackle's saying, like a wedding or some family related event, if that's communicated to our faculty, they will be flexible. But as track coordinators, we have to sort of be a tiebreaker in situations. And so if the communication is happening the day before or the day of or even after, and the faculty wants to be assertive in what the syllabus says about assignments, as track coordinators, we do have to work with you and the faculty, but also want to be supportive to everybody in the sense that if it's spelled out in the syllabi, you know, we will help our faculty follow that as needed, but really encourage you, as Carlos has said, as Dr. Cooper has said, as the dean has said, as we're saying, to not be shy, speak up, and let us know how and where we can help you.
Yeah, we really want to support your success. I mean, we have every interest in seeing you develop your competencies, really feel good about becoming a nurse practitioner. And you know, it's going to be harder and harder to support you if you're missing deadlines, if you're begging for forgiveness, if you're, you know, coming up with excuses, if you're saying, oh, I didn't realize that when we made it clear in the syllabus. So really participate by reading the syllabus and really putting some weight on the importance of this graduate education. You know, when physicians go to medical school, they don't have to work at the same time. They don't have to manage kids and households necessarily to the same degree that graduate nursing students have to. I watched my nephew recently go through the Harvard Medical School, and you know, he was present 24/7 for his medical education, and he didn't have any other responsibilities. And I was happy for him, but I also, my heart went out to all of you guys who do have more responsibilities. But that doesn't mean that we're going to, you know, make the importance of the information less important for you than it is for the medical students. It's equally important. In fact, it's more important, I think, because, you know, this is the time where you're going to integrate it most into developing this new skill set. So really carve out some time. If there's any way, if you're full-time, if you can go cut back on 1 day a week, talk to your nurse manager about getting some extra vacation time or some paid time off to get those papers done and really give it the time you need to get your clinical practice done. We also need you to be very proactive in working with us to find preceptors, and that needs to be done ahead of time. If you're finding a preceptor the week before the clinical practicum starts, then you may be late in the game starting, because it's like getting credentialed for a job. It can't happen overnight. We need a working agreement and whatnot. So it's very, very critical that you be proactive. So you're going to be getting a UMB email account, and we want you to communicate all your UMass Boston communications with us on your UMB email. It may be tempting to just use your Gmail, that might be, or whatever your default email is, Yahoo or Hotmail or whatever. And sometimes these are unknowable emails. It's, you know, xyz123@yahoo.com, and it's, you know, hard for us to see even who that is. If we want to go back and say, oh, you know, Nicole emailed me about something, what was that? I'm going to put your UMB email into my search thing, and if it doesn't come up, I'm like, oh, I don't know what that was or what she wanted. If you want to communicate with us, please use your UMB email. This is the way that we should be tracking everything. There is a way that you can have your UMB email forwarded to your personal email, and you can get programs on your laptop that combine all your emails into one email folder. But we really want to be sure when you reply to something that you're replying on your UMB email, and when you send something, you're sending it on your UMB email. We prefer email to the use of phones. Really, the phone texting on cell phones and whatnot is only, you know, to be sure it's happening, you know, it's being communicated in a much more urgent process. We know we're all getting, you know, way too many text messages and whatnot on our cell phones now. They're going off all the time, and it really needs to be an urgent situation. So
I just want to add, Dr. Hackle, that it's important to use your UMB email, and also, you know, when you're emailing myself, Dr. Hackle, Carlos, it's important for you to include your UMB ID. That also helps us quickly find and identify you, and then specifically, I think for Carlos, and you can speak a little bit more to this, Carlos, when engaging with the broader university systems, many times we need to have your UMB ID to work with the registrar's office or financial aid or any of the other broader systems. So please be sure you include not only your name, full name, first and last name. If you are married throughout the course of the program, please include your maiden name, because sometimes you register with your maiden name and married name, and then include your UMB ID. That helps expedite the process of anything that we need to help you with. And then I also want to just mention, we have, since going online and in this virtual world since COVID, we've had lots of issues as it relates to phishing and Zoom bombing and things like that. So it's really important for you to use that UMB email, because that clearly identifies that you're part of the UMB community. Carlos, did you want to add anything?
No, I think you covered it all, Dr. Gordon. Specifically, you know, the importance of that number, and you know, if there are any name changes, please let us know, because sometimes you start with a certain last name, and that's who we have in our system, and that's how we find you. And then sometimes our ID number doesn't match the new last name. So if there are any changes, please let us know so we can take care of that on our end. I think you can do it yourself through Wiser, but it doesn't come to us that the change has occurred. So please be sure to communicate that with us. But I think Dr. Gordon, you covered it in great detail, so thank you.
Okay, great. So once enrolled, email address will be automatically assigned to you, and to verify your student email address, you can log into Wiser. Wiser is our great big registration system. I think it's an acronym. I don't know what it stands for. Does anybody else know what it stands for? But anyway, it's everything about student enrollment and your plan of study. So email etiquette, we touched on this a little bit. Personal, confidential correspondence, make an appointment. Do remember, it's easy to be misinterpreted or to come across in a way that was not intended. You'll notice in Carlos's emails, he always starts out with a positive greeting, because if you just jump into, is class tonight? You know, for an online class where you're wondering about a synchronous session, if I'm the professor, I might interpret that as like, you're yelling at me, you know, where are you coming from? It's hard, you know, to be sure that I know that you're coming from a place of gentleness and, you know, that you're being polite if you're not adding some words that show me that you're being polite, because I don't have a facial expression or a tone of voice to reassure me that you're coming from a nice place. So you have to add words to your email to indicate that you are being polite. Remember, it's easy to be misinterpreted or come across in a way that was not intended. Sometimes we use extra, you know, question marks at the end of a question when it's urgent, or exclamation points when we're excited about something, but it can start to come across like somebody's sort of hyper excited and anxious, and that can engender anxiety in other people. Remember, we all need to kind of tamp down the stress level right now. So conduct yourself with the same civility and professionalism that you would use in face-to-face conversation, and send an email to somebody else the same way that you would want them to send an email to you. It's the old golden rule, right? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Download and read emails very carefully. Sometimes things you might miss a not, or insert a not where there wasn't one. So read it carefully, read it again. If you're upset or angry about something, it's best to maybe step away, come back, read the email again, and respond later. So when somebody says in capital letters, what do you mean I can't get an extension on my paper? If they put that in all capitals, that could come across as you're screaming at the professor. And this is not going to put you in a good situation. So we recommend that you watch the extra use of capital letters and the extra punctuation. Okay, we are actually working to update the student handbook. It should be out by early July. The handbook contains policies about transferring, that a B or better is required, what to do if you fail a course and how you can take it again and your previous grade can be wiped out, course withdrawals, drop ads, incompletes, and the very, very important aspect of academic honesty. For instance, in one of my courses right now, I have open book tests, but it's critical that students not be on the phone and texting their friend Sally to say, hey, what do you think about question 13? I think the professor means this. When we say at the beginning of a test, you can use open books, but don't talk to other students, we rely on you to be honest. It is the express policy of the University of Massachusetts, Boston, that every aspect of academic life, not only formal coursework, but also all relationships and interactions connected to the educational process, should be conducted in an absolutely and uncompromisingly honest manner. The university presupposes that any submission of work for academic credit is the student's own and complies with university policies, including its policies on appropriate citation and plagiarism. So if you're texting somebody and asking them what's their answer and taking that into account and it's not your own answer, and then you say later, oh, well, I didn't mean that answer, everything just, gets undone. We count on you being honest.
I also want to add that, you're coming in as our new class, and this is really great and really special. Classes prior to you have had access to information that we use in our courses again and again and again and again. And once we realize the academics is compromised, we have to come up with a new case study or 10 new questions on an exam. And for the faculty, that is a very challenging thing to do. So we just ask that people utilize this academic honesty as sort of a benchmark for understanding that there are generations that were utilizing information and teachings before you, and there's generations that will come after you, and us as faculty truly rely on some of the valuable information that we're teaching that needs to be repeated. Certainly there are things that will be updated and changed, but there are some things that need to be consistent throughout the curriculum, and it makes it challenging for us if as Dr. Hackle says, you're texting or you're asking your friend who's in the cohort ahead of you or letting the person in the cohort behind you know.
Yes, thank you for adding that. That's really important information, right? Yeah. And we have had people plagiarize, where they copy something out of a textbook, or they're copying somebody else's plan of care for a patient with anemia or whatnot, and we can actually see word for word that it's the same, and that is grounds for dismissal. You only learn by making it your own work. So, academic honesty really is in your interest for your own growth. So we ask that you sign an honesty statement before exams, either in the classroom or online, provide a photo ID and a signed statement that you've read and understood the code. We can submit papers through a program called Safe Assign, where we can see copied material. Respondus is a program where when you're taking a test that isn't open book, the camera is on you and it's a timed test, and the professor can go back through all the recordings and be sure somebody isn't looking something up or looking down at a phone, and that they're staying with just taking the test. This is the same kind of thing that when you're done and you take your board certification exam, you're going to be at a Carroll and a testing center, and they've literally had to pat you down to be sure you don't have any notes on you or devices or whatnot, because it's got to be the knowledge in your brain that shows that you're competent to practice. So you may also be graded on proper APA 7th edition style for your citations, avoid unintentional plagiarism, and use those resources. We do direct all students to Purdue OWL, which has to do with Purdue University has the online writing center, and it's a great resource to look at APA style papers. And there's also free tutorials about proper citation and plagiarism through the library. So now let's talk about academic advising. Each and every semester, you're given a plan of study, and it may vary somewhat. We want you to bring that plan of study each time that you have advising. Right now, advising has been happening on Zoom or Skype, but it's great to have your plan of study in front of you. The advisors keep them on their laptops in a folder, and we, some people are given a plan of study like at the time that they enroll, and they go right through it just as it's planned, but a lot of people end up taking a summer class or changing it in some way or the other. The reason that we want you to have your transcripts handy is that we want to be able to be sure you got a B or better in case, you know, otherwise you have to repeat a class. And if you transferred a class in, we need to be sure that the transfer actually happened at the registrar's office. I had a student tell me, well, I took pathophysiology at Umass Dartmouth the year before I enrolled, so I don't need to take that. But we need to see the transcript, see the grade, have it in the registrar's office. Okay, so here's the plans of study. Leah has put pink highlighting on her family nurse practitioner plan of study, but you'll see that the two plans of study really go together all through the fundamental first half of the program, really the first 2/3 of the program, up until the fifth or sixth, and then the sixth and seventh, fifth and sixth semesters, excuse me, because that's when the two tracks diverge, and AGNPs have more focus on geriatrics and FNPs have more focus on pediatric and women's health. So all of you will be taking 601 and 616 this fall as the fundamental graduate talk about population health, cultural aspects in nursing, nursing theory, learning to write a paper, learning to write your curriculum vitae from your resume, all kinds of aspects about, you know, starting your process toward becoming an advanced practice nurse. And evidence-based practice is where you're going to be writing a systematic review and starting to think about your particular clinical areas of interest for research and learning how to use guidelines and level the evidence. You know, it used to be that if somebody said, hey, what's the latest on hepatitis C? You know, you might say, oh, there's a good, you know, article in the Atlantic or, you know, Women's Day magazine on this or something. We're not going to have you using that anymore. We want you to be finding good scientific journals and looking at the level of evidence that say what is the current best practice for treating a condition. And then everybody's going to have pathophysiology and pharmacology. Again, those are two of the 3 Ps that are critical for your APRN education. And then the next year you're going to be taking informatics, advanced health assessment, and mental health in the fall. And then that prepares you. You've now had the 3 Ps, and you can start your first clinical practicum in the spring. And I recommend that you take the primary care of the adult, which is kind of like a mini internal medicine for nurse practitioners course. Very heavy course. We're working on revising this curriculum that will ultimately morph into the BS to DNP as the master's goes away in the next 5 or 10 years. But for right now, it's a 3-credit course, but be prepared, it's a lot of material. But it's good to have it right along with your first practicum, because the didactic for the practicum focuses on using your head-to-toe physical exam skills and your history-taking skills to look at risk factors, and then reducing risk, smoking cessation, cardiovascular risk reduction, cancer screening, immunizations, alcohol and drug management. But also, we want you to, you're going to have patients with emphysema, you're going to have patients with diabetes, you're going to have patients with psoriasis, and you need to know what are the current guidelines for the treatment of those conditions. So instead of waiting to have that go along with primary care of the adult practicum, we recommend that you take that in the spring along with your first practicum if you can. If you can't manage it then you can take it in the summer between your 4th and 5th. Now, some of you have been accepted into the full-time plan of study, and we don't have that up on the screen because it's a very small percentage of you. The vast majority of our students go part-time. I just want to bring up that if you are a full-time student, or if you're thinking, gosh, I really want to become a full-time student, we can't have you decide that any later than right now and see if you can be in the full-time program, because you would have to be in physical assessment in the fall, and you have to have patho and pharm before you go into your first practicum. You know, some people do take pharmacology along with their first practicum. So you, at a minimum, you need to have advanced health assessment with patho along with the foundational courses 601 and 616 in the fall. So this is where you can't come to us in the middle of the fall and say, you know what, I figured out I can just not work for the next 2 years and I can do this full time. It's already too late. You can't start your first spring practicum without the 3 Ps and be ready to take primary care of the adult.
I just want to add, Dr. Hackle, that, I think this is a really excellent time for our students to be entering the AGNP and FNP programs. The course curriculum is heavy with training you to be a preventative care provider, and in the wake of COVID, I think what we're all learning and seeing are those individuals who end up many, I don't want to say all of them, who end up in the ICU and who are a little bit more critical to care for, oftentimes have a multitude of comorbidities, metabolic syndrome, things like that. And, I think one of the things that's uniquely different about us as NPs versus our medical colleagues is that we actually are trained to treat something before it actually either happens and or catch it early enough where it can be managed and controlled. And our medical colleagues are sort of trained to see the problem and treat the problem. The cool thing about being an NP is we get to really prevent that problem from happening. So as challenging as it may be in this COVID world, as it relates to preceptors, as it relates to, going through your program, as it relates to getting out into practice, I think the world is going to realize the utility of us as advanced clinicians and the difference that we can make when, and it's not an if, but when the next epidemic and or pandemic hits, because our utility is to prevent people from being unhealthy or catch those things early enough to control them enough so that if they encounter another diagnosis like cancer, for example, which is a space that I work in, those patients who tend to do well throughout their cancer treatment have well-controlled diabetes, well-controlled hypertension, or were told they were borderline and then changed their lifestyle because their NP spoke to them about exercise, diet, and whatnot to prevent that diabetes from actually becoming a full-blown diabetes. So I think that this is really an exciting time, and this curriculum really demonstrates what we're preparing you to do as advanced clinicians.
Excellent. Very well said. Next slide.
Oops.
So online courses have been offered through something called the College of Advancing and Professional Studies, known as CAPS. CAPS now has their schedule go right along with the university classroom courses. So there's not that much more that you need to know about that. They all use Blackboard. You register for CAPS courses the same way that you register for a classroom course. There are tutorials available online to help you. Courses become live and will be visible on your screen a day before they start. So don't be surprised if you register for something and then you can't see it on your home page, but they will become available as the semester begins. Be sure that you have headphones and that you have a laptop with a webcam so that you can participate in synchronous sessions. We have a wonderful new lab. Can you go back a slide? That's the CCER stands for, let's see, Clinical Education and Research Center for Clinical Education and Research. And we have a beautiful new CCR lab, simulation lab that's over at the Quinn building. All of our offices in the School of Nursing moved over to Quinn. And right on the first floor is this $1 million lab, literally $1 million. And there's 6 exam rooms which are equipped with the otoscope and ophthalmoscopes for practicing your primary care skills before you get into a primary care clinic in an exam room. Rosemary Samia is the director, and there's wonderful assistants over there.
And the exciting news to share about that is the CCER is actually like actively working to open. even in COVID, with some social distancing requirements put into place. So some of your courses are going to say that you need to do some work in the sim lab, and I'm excited to say that actually, once you get to that point in the curriculum, there will likely be a very well thought out and executed plan to get you into this very nice new space on our campus.
Yeah. We only got about 6 more minutes here, so we're going to try to speed through the rest. But yeah, CCER and SimLab is one and the same. And so for clinical placements, once that time comes, and that time means the semester before your clinical placement, you need to work with us to find a placement. So we want you to, talk to your colleagues where you work, see if they know of anybody, talk to family members. When you go to conferences, if you see that somebody's a nurse practitioner, ask them if they take students, really build relationships, because we find that students who find their own placements actually are happier than students who are assigned a placement. We can try to help you find a placement. If you work at MGH, you can enter into the self-placement request system that you are an employee at MGH and you'd like to have a placement there. But it's ultimately up to the MGH placement person to find you a placement, and their first allegiance is to MGH Institute. So you may or may not get a placement with them. And the problem can be that it comes to the end of the semester, you may have been rejected by the placement you requested, and we're back to square one to find you a placement. So see if you can have something in your back pocket. Even ask your own primary provider if they can help you find placements. The CIPO stands for the Clinical Internship and Placement Office. There is a person there, Eva Benoit Alien, who's wonderful, and she helps to be sure you've got all the information for your request to then go for credentialing and for a working agreement to be made. Rachel Green is the person that works out all the working agreements. So for instance, when our students go to Mass General, that means that there's a legal agreement between UMass Boston and Mass General Hospital that our students are all, immunized and insured and, have met all the same credentialing hurdles, have cleared all those same hurdles that they have their employees clear. So clinical clearance must go through and a legal agreement must be in place. If you were coming in person, we would show you the bookstore. There's wonderful resources there. You can rent books. You can borrow books. You can get books online. Right now we have a lot of health and medical textbooks through our Healy Library, through Access Medicine, through McGraw-Hill. So we want you to know about the library resources. We want you to learn how to use the library to search the literature, to find guidelines. Tons of free articles you can download because of the agreements that the library has with, a series of publications. So learn about the resources there through the librarians. They can also loan out laptops and tablets. There's a graduate student lab on the 5th floor, and there's lots of carols where you can, tuck in with your own laptop or one of the laptops there. You will get a barcode for using the library that you stick on the back of your UMass ID card, your beacon card, and that will be used for borrowing things from the library or becoming a library user. We have resources to help you with writing. There's not only the Graduate Writing Center at the Campus Center for all graduate level students, but also within the College of Nursing and Health Sciences, we have something called Writing House, also called the WHO for Writing House Online. Great resources there. We can look at, there's too much to read on that slide, but maybe we can send you this slide set. Again,
Yep.
Purdue Owl from, go ahead, Leah, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, yeah, we can share the slide set.
Okay, and here again is American Psychological Association. The 7th edition came up with some changes that you may not be familiar with from when you used it in undergrad. And Hackers and Summers, their writing manual is very helpful, but keep in mind that a new edition of APA style came out since the copyright of the latest Hacker and Summers writing reference. Okay, so I just want to introduce Jessica Bardina before we close. I was hoping we could go around and have everybody say where you're from and where you work, but we're getting really close to the hour here. Maybe people want to stay online. Jessica, do you want to unmute and say a quick hello to people as our incoming AGNP track coordinator?
Hi, thank you for having me today. It was wonderful to hear this information. I just want to say to all of you, welcome. I'm looking forward to working with you and seeing you develop and grow in your studies. Jenny Hackle and I will be working closely together over the summer to make sure we get myself up and running so I can get you guys up and running. So welcome.
Good. Thank you so much, Jessica, for being here. It sort of helps as part of your orientation, too, of what's where. And we look forward to when UMass reopens and you can all come and get a tour on campus. So you're ambassadors of UMass Boston, so that means everywhere you go, carry it with pride that you're a UMass Boston student, show your professionalism, and when students act well, I love to hear when I ask a preceptor, oh, could you take a student again next term? And they say, you know, I've taken a lot of students over the years, and the UMass Boston students are great. They come with nursing experience. They're very humble and polite. They're very dedicated and compassionate. They see the importance of the team. They come before clinic starts. They have asked good questions. They know how to present a case. They help me in the work that I have to do. I love to have UMass Boston students. So that's what we need to make it work. And your understanding that is very critical. So, Dr. Gordon, is there more that you want to say about this? Otherwise, we're at 1 minute after 12, and I think we have to kind of
Yeah, I just want to I just want to first see, there's a couple more slides we have to go through, and if students are able to stick around, that's great. We'll go through them, but at this point, because it is 12 and we want to be sensitive of time.
I talk too much, sorry.
It's okay. I just want to see if anybody has any immediate questions that you have that we can help answer. And if you want to type something in the chat box, or if you want to use the raise hand option, or if you want to unmute yourself and ask, that's fine as well. And I'll just give it a couple minutes. Let's see, we have, oh gosh, lots of questions. Here we go. Let's see,
maybe Carlos can help us with how soon students can get their beacon cards and then their library barcodes. Do you know, Carlos?
I am not 100% sure at this stage, Dr. Hackle, but let me look into it and I can get a mass email out to everybody with that information.
That'd be great. Yeah, thank you.
So one question is, how does open book testing work with online books?
Well, we usually give you a study guide, and so when you do the reading online, you know, you focus on the issues, the questions in the study guide. But that can be a problem. You know, that's where you really have to pay attention, because it'll be a little bit more challenging to look something up.
Will classes be in person or online in the fall?
I think we're still working on that. You know, there's going to have to be questions about, you know, people not coming to campus who have any symptoms or any fever. We're going to have to observe social distancing, so people have to sit at least 6 feet apart and wear masks. There's going to be hopefully Purell dispensers everywhere for hand hygiene.
And I think those decisions are bigger than Dr. Hackle and I can answer. So I'm assuming that something broader will come out from the university and specifically from the College of Nursing and Health Sciences. Another question, how soon can we get access to the library resource? Carlos, do you know the answer to that?
I do not at the moment, but I'll look into it and I'll get a mass email to everybody, letting them know what I found out and how to approach that moving forward.
Thank you.
Once you get the library barcode that you get with your ID number, then you can get access to the library. So, yeah.
Can we reach out to the track coordinators for further questions regarding the start of the semester?
Yes.
I would say yes, but please know that we're email is inundated, and so, just give us a little bit of time to get back to you. Also, if you've signed up for a course, there should be a place where your course faculty is identified, and if there's course-specific questions, you could certainly ask them as well. There's another question about being on campus in the fall. I think we answered. How do we enroll in our classes? And when do we register for classes? Carlos, can you help out with that question?
So for most classes, you should be all set to register, specifically the courses that everybody starts out with, 601 and 616, as Dr. Hackle mentioned. If you have any issues with enrolling those classes, please let me know, because most of the time it's something that I can quickly fix on Wiser. And if not, it's something that I can touch base with the registrar and move forward with that. However, after you get past your first semester, please be aware that you must meet with your track coordinator before we can get you into certain classes, okay? Sometimes you'll need a permission code in order to get to the class, and you won't be able to register. So you need to meet with the track coordinator first, let me know that's been done, and then I can get you in that course, okay? So just as a heads up moving forward.
There's a question here about switching from full-time to part-time. I'm going to ask if that is your desire, please email the track coordinator in the program that you are enrolled in, so we can help work with you on that. Those are all the questions that I have right now. Dr. Hackle, if you just want to quickly go through these last few slides, because we are recording this for future future students who might not have been able to attend.
Okay.
And if those of you who are currently on have to get off, we understand. But if you want to stay for the remainder of the presentation, please do.
Okay, great. So there are faculty meetings where we do want student representation, and it's your chance to be an ambassador for your class, to get input to give to the faculty, and we may, ask questions. Hey, is the student representative available to say, what are your concerns about the capstone experience or whatever? We also reserve the right to go into executive session where students need to sign out of being in the session so that faculty can talk about faculty concerns without a student listening, where we're changing the curriculum or whatnot, and don't want that to be knowledge to students until we've come to a further decision or whatever that may be. Next slide.
One question that just came in, are 601 and 616 classes usually one day a week on campus or mostly online?
They have been on campus on Mondays from 4 to 7 and from 7 to 10, but I think they're going to be going online. And I think the two faculty members are working together to kind of dovetail those courses well. So stay tuned about that, but you will need to be registered and be ready for those to be starting. Labor Day is a Monday, so I don't know if they'll be starting the Monday after Labor Day. We'll find that out very soon because that should be up on Wiser as you register. Financial aid office is, of course, a popular place to go. Here's the link for that. There is sometimes traineeship monies or scholarship information is available, and sometimes there's teaching assistant opportunities. Those vary year to year, so you would go to this link to find out.
And I just want to say you will be enrolled in the graduate student Blackboard page, and so if residency programs, if scholarship opportunity comes up, you'll see information on that Blackboard page as well. Whoops.
So you'll be getting your beacon card once the ID office opens again, and we want you to know that the Student Life office is in the campus center, and it's wonderful. Faculty can go up there too. You can get discounted, tickets to Fenway Park, see the Red Sox, or theater tickets, even to the Lowe's Theater, down on Tremont Street. Wonderful happenings around town. You can get discounts too. Parking on campus can be challenging, but we did have the West Garage open, which is right behind the Integrated Science Building. It's $15 a day. After 4 p.m., it goes down to $9. The Bayside Center, where the old Bayside Expo was, is $9. There's a free shuttle bus from there, so you can park there all day. And on-campus evening hours, oh, did that go up to $10 from 9? I don't know. Anyway, you can go to that link that Leah has on the slide about parking to learn more about it. And there is hub bikes that you can rent on campus. There's a wonderful harbor walk that has been redone. Beautiful benches and vistas out across the Dorchester Bay and where the boats are moored. It's fun to see sailing classes and sailboats. Sailing anywhere between, I've seen sailboats out there in December and as early as March 1st. It's wonderful. So enjoy our beautiful location of our campus. Health Services is in the Quinn building on the second floor. Actually, a lot of faculty offices are right across from that, near the transportation office. So that's where you can go and get your TB test if you need it to upload into Complio, where all the clinical clearance information gets loaded. They can also help you with, getting other paperwork that you might need. We do have a smoke-free campus, so hopefully nobody's a smoker. If you are, we hope that you'll quit and observe that we have a smoke-free campus. I attended this commencement that was in the TD Garden. It was a giant experience, so it had to be there because we had so much construction going on campus when University Hall was being built, and there was not a single place for a family member to park or a student to park on campus. But we've moved back to where there's smaller commencements of the individual schools back on campus, which is kind of nice because we're so proud of our campus. And we even had former U.S. Congressman Barney Frank speak. Ayanna Pressley spoke on the recent Zoom graduation, which you can get up on YouTube if you want to see it. You can just Google YouTube Umass Boston commencement, and I think you can see the 18-minute commencement with a bunch of speakers, including Elizabeth Warren, so that's kind of fun. So any other pressing questions before we close this orientation session? And I'm sorry we went over, and I'm sorry we didn't get to introduce each other, but you'll get introductions of this same group will be in 601, and I think the professor will have you all say where you're from and where you're working, and you can get to know each other a little bit more then.
Just waiting to see if any other questions come in.
Yes, all the online classes are 1 day a week, and so if it's a Monday class, all the new content for the next week will start every Monday. If it's a Tuesday class, it'll start every Tuesday, and so forth. I try to get my syllabi out a week before so students can see the reading and order books or access the online reading. We do our best.
There's a question. When is the deadline to enroll for classes?
Well, there is a drop ed period, but it's best if you can enroll for a class as soon as registration opens. Otherwise, it may close with other people registering. Carlos, maybe you want to address that?
Correct. So there is a time frame for registering for classes. I'm not sure when the fall registration will open, but most of the time, the deadline to enroll is typically a week after classes begin. So I think this upcoming fall semester, the semester begins September 8th. So the add drop period that Dr. Hackle mentioned tends to be the week after that. But as she mentioned, it's important to try to enroll as soon as you can because otherwise classes get filled. We can't get you in the certain lab that you want, and it could just complicate your whole schedule moving forward. So please take that into consideration as well.
Yeah, over the next couple of weeks, I think we need to help everybody be sure they're registered for their program of study for the fall because, fall registration has already opened and we want to get you into your fall classes. And, so the track coordinators will be in touch with all of the currently admitted students to be sure that their plan of study and what they're registered for matches up. Sound good?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Well, we want to thank all of you for spending some time with us and learning about UMass Boston and the program that you have enrolled in. We're so excited and happy to have you. And we are here as resources for you. You have our information. If you were unable to jot it down, you can certainly find us on the College of Nursing and Health Sciences website page, and contact us that way. We just ask, give us a little bit of time to get back to you via email, but we certainly will. And we're just delighted that you're here and that you've chosen UMass Boston, and that you reflect the very diverse and highly qualified students that we like to accept into our programs.
Yes, welcome everyone, and feel free to email us with other questions. Okay, thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, bye.